What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 12 of the Blue River Bow Hunting Podcast. I have a really cool guest on with me this week with Adam Bowlds of Hunt the Wild Podcast. How's it going, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Not too bad. It probably feels weird to be on the other side of this setup.
Yeah, it definitely does. I'm used to kind of running the show, so it's going to be a different experience sitting back and getting asked and drilled all these questions.
well, I appreciate you coming on. You know, you've had me, on your show twice now. I'm kind of the leader on your show. I like it. I like that characteristic. I got two shows, and that's the most of anybody, right?
That's right.
That's cool. I think I got two people tied with two appearances on mine, so we'll have to get you on multiple times and maybe get you up there in that leader category on mine.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So, as you know, since you're a loyal listener, I start this podcast off the same way with every guest. How did you get started in hunting?
So I got started when I was a kid, probably how most people do. I went out small game hunting, mostly like squirrel hunting, probably around 3 or 4 with my dad, just kind of tagging along. Probably not shooting a whole lot till I was probably 6 or 7. But yeah, and then I graduated from that to probably doing a little squirrel hunting, a little rabbit hunting, then graduated to deer hunting. My dad, grandpa, and them never really turkey hunted or anything, so deer hunting was kind of my thing. But yeah, definitely squirrels, and I still love to chase squirrels.
Yeah, I see that on your social media stuff. I think you're the person I see most excited about squirrel hunting.
Yeah, I think it's I don't know, maybe I just because when I was introduced to it as a kid, it's just like in my nature now to want to go or something. But um, I really like to chase them in winter. I know a lot of people hunt them kind of in August around here when they're cutting hickories and stuff. But I like to get after them all year and just kind of sneak around in the woods and kind of hang out. It's a lot like deer hunting. You got to be kind of stealthy and be kind of smart and pick your steps and everything, but it's not as stressful, I'd say.
Oh, for sure. Um, I never really did a whole lot of squirrel hunting. It was almost like when me and a couple buddies would go, it'd be like, "Hey, we can finally hunt something, so let's go." It was always fun. A lot of people use like 22s and stuff. I always used a little 20 gauge that my grandpa gave me. It was just kind of like a nostalgia thing, like old school, all cleaned up Remington 20 gauge. It looked real good. I'd show it off to my buddies and not even shoot anything. But uh, I think that's what I want to take my son for his first hunting experience is going to be squirrel hunting. We own some property right across from our house. Perfect place to be able to shoot and not have to worry about much. And I think I'm going to introduce him to that next season. Put some camos on him and our orange and go sit on the bucket across the street and have fun with it. His attention span isn't the longest thing ever, so if he gets bored with it, we could just walk back across the street. But I'm going to get him into deer hunting next year. I'm going to put him in the blind a few times and see how he reacts to it and how he figures it out, if he's going to like it or not. Obviously, you're not going to know full blown if you're going to like it just quite yet at 6 years old, but it'll still give him a little bit to play off of. I'm sure he'll like it just like I do one of these days.
The cool thing about squirrel hunting too is a lot of times you'll see deer. So if you're a
Oh,
kid,
yeah.
it gets you like real intrigued. You're like, oh man, there's a deer. Can we go shoot a deer next time? So
Right.
maybe it'll go that route.
Yeah, that's it could happen. The property that we own across the street's kind of like a big valley, so we could very easily see deer on the other side of that running through there. Of course, I would probably see them, and then I would go hunt over there and not see anything. We've hunted it. I had me and a buddy uh, went over there a few times when I first bought this house, and um, we didn't really see a whole lot of deer. We had one encounter. The only encounter we ever had with a deer back there ended up being about like 145 to 150 inch 10 pointer.
Wow.
And I screwed up big time because I'm above him filming, and this deer was coming through there. And from my view, because it was still early October, I mean, like the first probably 15 days or so, somewhere right in there. I said, don't shoot, don't shoot. You don't have a good view. And I could just see it in his face, like, come on, man. And then when we're getting down to climb down, I was like, oh, wow, he had a totally different view than I did. He probably had a
Mm.
very clean shot at this deer. And I felt bad about that afterwards. But he was a giant, though. I had a bunch of trail cam pictures of him, too. But let's talk a little bit about Hunt the Wild podcast. We mentioned a little bit me being on your show a couple times. What got you into the podcast world? What made you want to start a podcast?
Okay, so I'll jump back. My podcast is fairly new. I think I'm on like episode 13, maybe 14, maybe. Um, but I kind of started the Hunt the Wild thing back in 2018. I got kind of where I wanted to see normal guys, just normal average guys hunting and talking about it and stuff. And I'm sure there's pages around Instagram or whatever, but it's kind of hard to just like type in normal average dudes hunting, on Instagram. So
Right.
I didn't really know a whole lot about podcasts or anything. So back in 2018, I started a website and I got a bunch of guys together I'd been talking to all over the United States. I think there was like 4 or 5 guys, and I was going to kind of there was a guy from Florida. There was a guy from far out west, somewhere I can't even recall, like Washington or something now.
Mm-hmm.
There was a guy from far over east. We were going to kind of just like tell all of our stories all from around the United States. So everyone, like, somebody can relate somewhere in their region. And we were going to write blog posts and do all that. Well, after a while, I was the only one writing blog posts, and it was like just wearing me out writing these blog posts every week. Like, I'm okay at writing, but it just got kind of like seemed kind of more like a chore. So I stepped
Right.
back, backed off of it for a little bit, and I was like, man, I could do a podcast. I don't have to write. I just, I find some cool guests, see what I want to talk about, and I started researching it, and yeah, I think I actually ran into you on TikTok, and
Yeah, like I mean, you said that you were on, episode 14 or 13 or 14. You know, we actually kind of started our podcast at the same time, really. Like right in their same ballpark. I mean, I maybe only had like 2 recorded, maybe 3 recorded before you started yours, but mine initially, I mean, I never thought I'd have a podcast, to be honest with you, but I started Blue River bow hunting to just to film and have YouTube and stuff, and then it evolved into, hey, I think this would be really fun to have. I got so many people at buddies that could come on and help me co-host, and I could have kind of like what you were saying. I'd like to have the regular guy. Don't get me wrong. One day, I think I want to have some bigger guests. I wouldn't say it's a goal by any means, but maybe some people in the industry, like me and you were talking before this on the Go Wild app, having the guy on there that started that and everything. I think that would be really cool. Stuff like that. I'm not aiming for Mark Drury and stuff like that. I don't even want to get into that. I would much rather have the common guy, the average hunter, on to talk about their trials and their errors and their mistakes, and they're going to be real with you because they're not getting paid to say something. You know what I mean?
yeah, there's a lot of content about deer hunting, like in as far as like podcasts and stuff go,
Hmm.
and all the strategies and topics. But I kind of like I don't really know anything about waterfowl. I know a little bit about small game like squirrels and all that stuff, but I never could really find a podcast that seemed to have like all of it. Like
Right.
there wasn't one that had squirrel hunting one week and duck hunting the next week. So I was like, man, I'm gonna start one. You can only listen to so much deer hunting content before it all kind of starts to blend together. So
Absolutely. And I wish that, when I did the podcast separate from like my YouTube and stuff, maybe it wouldn't be Blue River bow hunting because we do so much more than just bow hunting. But I just tie it into everything. And, people that listen regularly, they understand that. They just associate, Blue River bow hunting podcast with the guys from Blue River bow hunting. And it's been so fun so far. We just dropped episode 11 with Jason Burcham. Dude is an absolute big buck killer from the state of Indiana. This guy's killed giants anywhere and everywhere. I mean, just has a golden horseshoe up his ass, so to speak, and we got to talk to him on there, and he's buddies with Adam, my neighbor, and it's just cool to have that that group of guys that are coming together to do all this stuff, and I'm actually going to get the chance to probably film him next year, and to say I'm jacked is an understatement because you know how it is. Me and you, we go out to the woods and we film maybe ourselves or other people. I know you didn't get to really film other people as much, but to know that you're going with somebody that pulls big bucks on a regular basis and sees a lot of deer, that can be very exciting.
Does that get you? Does that get you as fired up as shooting one yourself? Film
Yeah,
being behind the
absolutely,
camera, filming them.
absolutely. That's like a goal for me right now. I say
Yeah.
that's my top goal for Blue River bow hunting. My personal goal for Blue River bow hunting. I want a big buck kill on camera. I mean, it's just plain and simple as that. I want to, I want to see that through a camera lens. I want to watch somebody drill a 150-inch deer with their bow on camera. That's what I want. I'm working so hard to try to get that done, and this year was very tough filming wise.
It sounds like it's going to turn around for you next year.
I think being with him, and I'm gonna hunt with him as much as I can. I think if we get everything put together, but I'm actually gonna maybe try to get multiple camera setups. And if I can't go with the neighbor, then maybe somebody can go with him and film him, or Ryan can film his buddy Spencer, and like everybody can be filming. It's not just one guy with one camera. We'd have such a chance to expand just content. I don't want to expand when it comes to members. Yes, I would love to add Jason Bertram, which it sounds like it's going to happen. But I'm not going to add just everybody and anybody that wants to join. That's just not the way that it's going to work out. I want a tight knit group of guys that have fun together and are like family. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, it's a cool thing. You got to be, as harsh as it sounds, you got to be selective sometimes. I mean,
Right.
just the name of the game.
Absolutely. So what kind of goals do you have for Hunt the Wild podcast?
So really, I mean, lately I've been really just trying to get my name out. I've been trying to grow as much as I can, trying to talk to average hunters, try to get my info out to people that might be searching for it. I know I look for content all the time, so I'm just hoping maybe I've got some keywords in there that somebody's looking for. And yeah, I'm just gonna keep recording, keep pushing out as many episodes as I can, and um, just get out to the average guy.
Have you gotten bored with it at any point?
No, I haven't gotten bored with it. It keeps me on my toes. Actually, I work on it.
Absolutely.
I work on it constantly.
Right. A lot of people don't know, like, yeah, you could probably just hit record and have a conversation with somebody, but I don't think I could do that. I like to be prepared. I like to
Yeah,
have, talking points, some show notes a little bit. You don't have to go through them and order and one by one and sound like a robot, so to speak. But I feel like you need talking points to navigate the conversation. You know what I mean?
yeah. There definitely has to be some thought put into it prior. That's a big thing too. Is usually you kind of like know what you want to talk about for the week, whether it be like, I don't know, wind or filming or whatever it is. Then you kind of like search for a guest that can kind of fill that spot that you feel like can give you the best information to get to your audience, because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to give your audience the best, most informative information. That's the whole point of doing the podcast. So
Right.
that's the tricky part sometimes, is finding the guests.
So what was the content for me when you asked me to do one?
Big buck killer. Look at that wall. Well, I guess
I
not
mean,
everybody can see that wall that's not watching on
there's a
YouTube.
few back there, but wait till you see that video of Jason last night and you see his wall.
Yeah, I actually text you this morning and and asked you if it was up, and I had put my AirPods in to listen to it, and you just texted me as soon as I got them in my ears, and you're like, it's not up yet, and I was like, no. So I'll be catching that for sure tomorrow. But no, I wanted to talk to you on my show about about filming, because it was super relatable to me. I'm sure it's super relatable to a lot of other people. A lot of people
Right.
use social media now. They want to put content up. A lot of people don't know like what to buy, how to film. I mean, when I first started filming, I had no idea what I was
I know
doing.
that was one of the biggest challenges of filming was trying to figure that all out. And um, this was my second full year filming, and you learn so much by doing that. Just like I was talking about doing the different camera setups. I think I'm going to venture out and try different bases for the camera arm. I have a Muddy outfitter or whatever it is. I think I might try the fourth arrow. The base on it looks like it might be easier to travel with,
Hmm.
and maybe just easier in general. Maybe.
I um I have a fourth arrow that I bought this year. It's not an actual arm, but it clips to the front rail of a Summit.
Oh yeah, I've seen
But
those.
it's pretty much the same concept. It's got kind of like a socket, like your shoulder socket, but it's like
Right.
a socket that moves around or whatever. It works really well. The only thing I don't like about it is one of the adjustment screws. If you It only has like three or four threads on it, and it takes like quite a bit to back it out,
Mhm.
and it doesn't have any kind of clip or like string or anything to it. So the first time I used it, of course, I didn't play with it a whole lot before I went out in the stand. I climb up in the stand, I get all my camera gear out, and hook it all up, and I'm like untightening that thing and pop all the way to the ground.
Oh man.
So that might be something you may check into. I'm not sure if the other
Yeah, I'm going
systems
to
have
check into
that.
several ones, and it's not that I don't like the Muddy one. It's been very reliable for me. Um, but I think I've used it so much that it's got like creaks in it in certain positions. I think it might just be the weight of the camera. But that base for that thing, that is not an easy thing to get in and out in my bag. The thing's big, you know.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before. Taking it in and out of the woods. I take it in and out of the woods every time just because I try to take care of my equipment as much as humanly possible, especially as for how much it costs.
Hmm.
Having that setup. But I think the fourth air one looks like it might just travel a little better. It looked like it would go in my bag a hell of a lot easier than that big thing.
I think the hunting public guys, they travel a lot, move around a lot. I think they use fourth arrow, so whatever they're using probably works pretty good as much as
Yeah,
they
they
move.
they got the game figured out for sure.
Yeah.
Talk about troubles you've had with the show with finding guests and guests backing out on you when you're getting ready to hit record and stuff like that.
Oh man, that that's probably been the hardest thing about doing a podcast. Like I'm kind of like I'm not real good with like crowds and like speaking. Like I wouldn't be good speaking on stage. So
Mhm.
I was kind of like leery about doing a podcast because I thought I might be like camera shy, I guess.
Mhm.
But the biggest trouble is finding guests. And here's the thing with a podcast, you find a guest or whatever for whatever content. You get the guest, you schedule them. You might schedule a week or two out, because we're trying to put out episodes, trying
Right.
to schedule weeks in advance so we can keep the content coming. You get the guy scheduled, you write up, some questions, send them over to him because you want him to be prepared, and might schedule it. Let's say 7 p.m. tonight. We get on 7 p.m. tonight. I text him. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'll be on 10 minutes." Okay, no problem. He had to take care of the kids, whatever. Be on 30 more minutes. It's like, well, I've had that happen a couple times, and a couple of the guys, put me off an hour, and then I was like, never mind.
Yeah, because you get to waiting 10 minutes on somebody, that's no big deal. Just like, you text me right around your 7 o'clock, my 8 o'clock mark when we had this planned out, and you're like, I'm ready. And we had actually just gotten home, and so we were putting some groceries up. I was like, give me a couple minutes to get this done. And I'm also having a little bit of technical difficulties with my computer at the moment, but that's different than with somebody, hey, it'll be an hour. It's like, no, buddy, I'm not waiting an hour. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I'll get people ask me if they can come on my show, and I kind of try to give them. It's not to be mean, but I want to give them kind of, I want to see if they have any validity. Like, have they only been deer hunting one time? If I'm looking for that kind of show, then sure. But if I'm looking for something pretty complex into deer hunting that week, or something about squirrel hunting and they've never been, obviously I'm going to have to put them off. But I have had a couple people ask me, and I'll get them lined up, and then I'll just like write the questions out, send them over to them, and I'll just never hear from them again. Or um, another issue I have is I use a lot of social media to find guests. So I use
Hmm.
Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I now use Go Wild, which is something I introduced you to.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
addicted to it now.
um, a lot of those platforms, I've recently started using LinkedIn. It's pretty good to try to find guests on too, but a lot of those platforms will censor any kind of hunting content. So TikTok is as extreme as if you show like a bow for longer than like a second or two, the video gets taken down. So it's kind of hard to navigate through that. But yeah, that's the biggest challenge, is finding guests, man. But I try to stay on it. I try to schedule weeks in ahead. I try to schedule one or two a week in case one falls through. And yeah, I just got to keep grinding at it.
So what's your favorite episode that you've recorded?
Oh man, don't ask me that.
Oh well, it doesn't have to be
um,
me. You don't have to answer with me. It can be just maybe like a unique conversation you
oh
had, or maybe you
gosh,
just had fun with one.
it's hard. One that really sticks out in my mind is Garrett Benner. He's a guy from Maryland, and he hunts pretty much like everything he can or whatever. But
Hmm.
he was talking to me a lot about um, killing iguanas with blowguns down in Florida, and
I remember that one. That was
I had
wild.
never, I had never, I guess maybe because it was so informative to me, but I had never heard of people hunting them like that. I thought you just kind of like shot one or two, but apparently you can go down there with a blowgun or a bow fishing rig and just kind of clean up on them.
Man,
And then,
I watched somebody on YouTube. Sorry to interrupt you. I don't remember the exact username, but it's actually somebody owns a company down there, and they take care of these invasive species, iguanas, and they're
oh
shooting them
no,
with like these air rifles and like subdivisions and stuff because they go perch up on the roofs of houses and stuff down there in Florida. I think it's a lady actually, and she'll shoot 50 to 100 of them in a day.
that's just like her job or whatever.
Yeah,
It's
that's her job is to go shoot iguanas with a
oh my
fucking air
gosh.
gun all day.
Apparently, Garrett really intrigued me with it because apparently they're pretty similar to like frog legs, and I love frog legs. I don't
I
know if
love
you,
frog legs.
but I was like, what are you doing? Because I know a lot of people shoot like carp and stuff where I'm from, bowfish, and they just kind of like trash them.
Right.
And like, it's okay to go every now and then to me, but like, I'm not real into like stacking up 40 or 50 carp for no reason. It's just like, just not my
Right.
thing. But if I could stack up 40 or 50 iguanas and eat them, I'd love to do
Right.
that. So,
You do
I'd
you do
say,
you do you frog gig in the summer?
yeah, last summer we were actually doing a lot of work on our house, so I didn't get out, but that's usually like a opening day thing for me.
Uh-oh. I think I
Yeah.
might have just found something we might be able to do a YouTube collaboration on.
Uh-oh,
Frog gigging.
you a frog gigger?
I love frog gigging, dude.
Do you?
We have several places around us like we're lucky enough to live like on a little reservoir here where we're at, and you can just walk around it and clean house. But there's another place up by us, Westwood. It's a public lake, and they have like hiking and biking trails all the way around this lake. And it'll take you all night, and you will not, still won't get all the way around that thing. We come back with baskets full of them.
Really?
It's a blast. I mean, there might be one or two alcoholic beverages consumed in this night, but it's a good time, man. It'd be something fun. Maybe not necessarily get our big cameras out, but something that we could introduce the video on the big cameras and close it out, but mostly use our GoPros, I think would be the best thing.
Yeah, I definitely, I'm not scared. I'll take my big camera out and film you. I'll throw that GoPro on the end of your gig, and I'll get in
Oh,
the water and film you.
that'd be badass, man.
I've actually been wanting to frog gig with a bow fishing rig. I know
That'd be
that's
cool.
legal here too, so I don't know. I've kind of always wanted to try that.
Yeah, that'd be fun. So let's talk a little bit about your 2021 deer season as a whole.
Oh man. You want the long story or you want the short one?
Well, let's go in it at it in pieces. So you
Okay.
start your 21 season in the state of Kentucky. Am I right?
Yeah, you're correct.
So how was that getting into that Kentucky season when it's early and it's hot and you're chasing them on public land? How did it work out for you early season, like
So,
before October 1st?
okay, so September 4th is Kentucky archery opener. I live about 30 minutes from where I'm hunting. I only live 10 minutes from the bridge over into Kentucky. So, I found this piece a couple years ago. It's actually private piece. You have to pay $150 for a pass to be on it. It's coal mine ground, but I almost consider it public because anybody can buy a pass.
Mm,
So there's about 300 people, 300 passes that they sell. Most of them are gun season guys. They do have guys out there that run dogs for rabbits and stuff. So not a whole lot of bow hunters, but some. So um, last year I kind of hunted the same spot too much. I got real burnout. So this year
mm-hmm,
my plan going in September 4th was take the summit. I'm going to go in. I kind of had some spots picked out. I'm going to go in. I'm going to find, fresh rubs, fresh scrapes, fresh sign. I'm going to go in. I'm going to hunt. And I went in. I'm not sure if opening day was on a Saturday. If it wasn't on a Saturday, then I went on that Saturday, whatever was after the 4th.
mm-hmm.
And I hiked and I hiked and I hiked and I hiked and I got super far back, no more stands. And then I just find like more clusters of stands. So I just started getting in a pickle with fighting other hunters. I'm not sure how old the stands and stuff were, but sweating to death is probably 90 some odd degrees. I don't remember, but I know it was hot.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to kill this certain buck, couldn't seem to get on him, was having a lot of pressure on my cameras, not really seeing other people. They were there during the week, kind of messing with the deer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, couldn't get on him. A couple week or so goes by. I go to pull a camera after work. My wife and son were in the truck, and the camera was probably 200 or 300 yards from the road. I go in without a bow or anything. It's season now. I'm trying to move my cameras, trying to get, trying to figure out where these deer are at so I can move in them on the weekend when I have, time. And I walk in on about a 130 and a 140 buck. And I actually walked in on one and he was like 50 yards from me. And I snuck back out and I ran back to the truck and I grabbed my bow and I'm like sneaking back. I'm like thinking this is not going to happen. Like it's just not, but I have to try.
Right.
So I get back. And at this point, I'm only about 300 yards from the truck, and a buck's gone. Of course, I'm like, okay, I'll sneak up over the ridge. The camera's down in this valley, so I got to go up and then down. So I'm like, I'll go to the top of the ridge and sit on top. I said, I'll wait 5 minutes. If I don't see anything, let it go. Well, about 2 or 3 minutes go by, and I see both of these bucks come up this ridge, and it's getting dark. And I'm thinking, oh God, like what's going to happen? They're probably 60, 70 yards. Like pop shot with a gun, not going to happen with a bow for me. I don't shoot
Right.
over 30 yards, but it's getting dark. It's getting dark. These deer get down to like, it's like 45 or 40 yards. And I'm like, for me, like I don't shoot high poundage. Like I just don't feel comfortable really shooting over 30 yards. They get to like 40, 45 yards and the wind just immediately shifts. They're coming right towards me and wind me and they're gone. So
Dang.
I tried to hunt those bucks for about 2 weeks. I sweat my ass off, got fed up with it, moved around, just couldn't figure it out. I got super fed up with it. And by the end of October, I was like, you know what? Forget it. I'm going to high pressured public land right down the road from me. And I went in there and I haven't been in there probably 3 or 4 years, but I went in there and decided to kind of do the same thing and ended up getting on a nice 10. And I had I chased him for a couple weeks too, and one evening, about a minute or two after last shooting light, I could have shot him. He was at 10 yards, but it just it wasn't the right thing to do after shooting light. So
Right.
I never did kill that buck either.
So switching gears, so you're in Indiana now. Did you ever go back to Kentucky, or did you when you switched the Indiana gears, did you just kind of stay in Indiana?
Yeah, so I started hunting Indiana for I hunted pretty much all of October and about the first week of November, chasing that one deer. I was literally going into work every day, going straight from work, either home, take a shower, or whatever, get sent free, or straight there from work some nights, and trying to kill that deer. I couldn't make it happen in like 4 weeks. So by the time, let's see, it was about a week before gun season. I knew guys were going to be coming in there hanging stands for gun season. It's a super small piece of public, and I was like, you know what, forget it. I'm not going to kill this deer either. So, um, gun season rolled around, and I went back. I went back to Kentucky, and
Mm-hmm.
oh, let's see. No, I screwed that up. I totally missed. I totally missed my Indiana buck. Okay, so let me back this up. So I was hunting that piece in Indiana, and I was told I could have permission in late October. This is nearing the end of bow season.
Mm-hmm.
I could have permission to this piece, but I couldn't have permission on it till like certain days or something. So
Mm-hmm.
like I think it was November 8th or something. I got permission, and I went out there November 9th. It's a long story of why I could only hunt at certain days. But anyway, I went out there November 9th and kind of scouted it out. And I did have some does under me, but I didn't see any bucks. So there was like no trees to get a climber in. I went back there with a climber. I climbed up like 12 feet, and the way that the land was set up, I was on top of a levee, and the deer were traveling down this levee, and the only trees on the levee were, I don't know, 6 inches around. So
Right.
um, I went to the sides of the levee and climbed a tree, but by the time I could get as high as I could in the tree, I was eye level with the levee. So it was basically like I was sitting on the ground.
Right.
So I got fed up with this buck. I got fed up with that buck on the public. So I was like, okay, I got permission here. I'm going to go here and scout it out now. It's late, but it's before gun season. So I went that first night. I saw some does. Couldn't get a climber in there. Came back the next night, and went in there to hang a set. And I just, for some reason, I was rushed. I couldn't get a hang on and a set of sticks. I couldn't get it hung in time. A doe came in, was blowing at me. I had like an hour and a half before dark. Everything was going wrong. There's ratchet straps all over the tree. They're falling on the ground. I was like completely just fed up at this point. I actually took my crossbow because those three bucks in Kentucky and the one buck in Indiana had just completely like, they were all like 45 yards, 50 yards. I
Just
just
skirting
like,
your comfort zone.
oh my gosh. I was drained from it. I really like, I was getting to the point like I was just getting fed up. So I was like, I'm gonna take this crossbow in here. I'm gonna hang a set. I'm just gonna try to chill out. I go in there to hang the set, and it just like all completely goes wrong. So I climbed to the bottom of the tree. I'm like, I'll leave this set here. I'll move it a different night when I have time. I've already walked the mile and a half that it takes to get back here and drug the stand and the sticks.
Mm-hmm.
Next time I can just walk back, move the stand. I was like, I'm just going to sit on the ground. Just going to sit on the ground, chill out, maybe look around, try to get a plan for next time. Didn't think I'd see anything. At this point, I had already blown a doe out. She'd come up like out of the thickets towards the levee, flew right at me, whatever. So I'm sitting on the ground. I've got like an hour and a half um, before dark. There's crows because I'm sitting 23 yards from the bank of the Wabash River. And for some reason, the crows there's thousands and thousands and thousands of crows. And I can't hear a single thing. All I can do is really like see.
Mm-hmm.
And I look over and I see some does like maybe 60, 70 yards. But by the way I was sitting, I could kind of like only see their heads. I'm like, well, if they come over here, like I'm bloodthirsty. Like I'm gonna take one of these does. Just like fed up at this point, and I'm watching them, and it's getting windy. I can't really hear anything. The crows are being loud. I look over, about 30, 40 minutes before dark, and I see one of them kind of like trot up, trot up the levee. I'm sitting right on top of the levee, no cover. I'm just kind of like tucked against this tree. And I see her trot up maybe 5 yards, and I look behind her, and all I see is this huge rack. What looked to me like a huge wide rack. And I'm like, oh shit. And he doesn't stand there very long. Like when I saw him, I knew I was going to shoot him. Like I had decided that second that I was going to shoot him, but I did not think it was going to happen. So he runs this doe up the levee. The levee's probably 15 feet, and he runs her up over the levee down the other side, and she obviously can't go anywhere because it's the river. So he
Right.
gets to the other side, and she books back over the levee, but at this point she's traveling more towards me. So she runs, I don't know, she runs back over the levee, kind of like in a line towards me, passes me at like 15 yards, like in full sprint. No shot. I was definitely going to like shoot her too. She's gone. Well, if you've deer hunted very much, you know that usually that buck is getting ready to sprint right after her. So I'm thinking, oh God, he's gonna like come flying by here, and I'm gonna have to like make it happen real quick. I was thinking like, there's no way in hell that I'm gonna shoot this deer. He comes back up from the riverside of the levee to the top of the levee and walks down the top of the levee and gets I'm sitting on like a 6 or 8 inch tree with my back to it, facing away from the river, and I've got just like this little dead log kind of like to my side, not really a whole lot of cover. And he's walking down this levee, and I'm like, oh shit, like he's getting close. He gets to 5 yards
Oh
staring right at
shit.
me. And I took that crossbow and I kind of finagled it in between that dead log. And I was like, this is kind of like he's getting ready to step on me if I don't shoot him. Like I'm getting ready to like shoot him in the chest. But I really didn't want to shoot him that way, but I was going to because it was so uncomfortable. So I'm
Right.
like, I'm shaking like a leaf. He spots me. He immediately blows and takes off down the levee. And as he's running down the levee, about when he gets about right where the bottom of the levee, meets regular flat ground,
Hmm.
I was like, I gotta do something. I gotta do something. My grunt call is in my bag, you know, don't have it. I'm like, Matt, and he doesn't stop. And I'm like, Matt, and he immediately just stops in his tracks. I put that scope right behind his shoulders, thinking like he's getting ready to book, like because he's staring right at me the whole time. And I put it in the sweet spot, and I squeezed the trigger, and it didn't go off. I forgot to click the safety.
Oh, shit.
So, and mind you, I've shot this crossbow hundreds of times. So I reach up to push the safety off, and it's got a safety on both sides, so you can access it from either side. But I usually access it kind of like,
Like
my
you're gun
thumb or
hunting.
whatever, and reach back, and it's in a different spot than like it is on a gun or anything.
Hmm.
I reach back, and I've got my I don't want to take my eye like out of the scope, and I reach back, and I can't find the safety. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God. So I take the boat, I take my eye out of the scope, and I look down, push the safety off, put it right back on him, pull the trigger. I just knew I smoked him. I just knew I smoked him, but I was like, I'm gonna wait 30 minutes. I got those glow knocks or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, I saw the arrow or whatever, waited 30 minutes, went and checked the arrow, and it was covered in blood. It was so covered in blood I couldn't hardly hold on to it.
That's awesome.
I I called my wife, told her and everything. I start tracking it, and there's like no blood. And this is the biggest deer I'd ever shot. So I'm like my mind is just like my
All over the
mind's
place.
everywhere. I uh I start tracking, and there's a little bit of blood. Usually it'll kind of take, usually it won't bleed sometimes at first. You get 20, 30, 40 yards, you might find blood, and then usually it'll get steadier from there.
Right.
But I went 30, 40 yards, found some blood, and it thinned out, and then it thinned out more, and then it thinned out more. And I was like, oh God, this, like, I just knew, like, it's not good. Well, the area I'm hunting is covered in deer trails. So there was a lot of forks in
Mhm.
the trail. So a lot of times when you're trailing something, like,
Which
probably
way
went
he's
down
gonna
this
go?
trail if I'm walking down a trail. But my problem was I would find like a pin drop, and I mean, like, I'm talking like you dipped like um a toothpick in blood and dipped it on a leaf, like on my hands and knees with three lights looking for blood. I'd find those like sporadically, and then I'd get to like a fork in the trail, and I'd be like, God, did he go left? Did he go right? Did he go straight? So I'd mark it and I'd look down each trail. I did that two or three times, and finally I got to a point to where like I couldn't find any more blood, and I'm looking around. I'm looking around. I got a bright light, and I just caught his belly, like laying down. And I went and recovered him, and I walked back to where I had last stuck blood, and I think it was like 55 or 60 yards from last blood to where he was landing. There wasn't a single drop of blood,
That's
and
crazy.
I was shooting Muzzy 3 blades, and when I opened him up, it was weird. He must have turned, or my arrow must have hit something, but I clipped both lungs, barely clipped liver, and I clipped stomach, but I clipped stomach so finely that there was two whole pieces of corn laying inside of blood. No green matter, no like stomach matter, no nothing. Two whole pieces of corn. You know how they kind of get like
Right.
clotted up inside the cavity,
Mhm.
laying inside the cavity. It was the weirdest thing,
That
but
is weird.
it was. Whew, he went 195, and he was. I didn't score him or anything. I don't really like. I've never scored a deer. I don't really
Mhm.
know a whole lot about it.
It's
But
not hard.
he's the biggest deer I ever killed, but man, I didn't think I was going to find find him, to be honest.
Well, congratulations, man. That's awesome. Usually with those arrows, you said like when you first shot him, you had a little bit of blood. Man, that buck I shot this year, I bet he didn't take 6 steps after I shot him, and he's spraying out both sides 4 foot off the ground.
No kidding.
Yeah, like it looks like a murder scene. I mean, it's uh, and I contested a little bit to the Barrowhead that I used, the blood sports, but like my neighbor said when we're tracking him and we finally recover him and we start gutting him, and I literally center punched his heart, and he said, "I'm never out trying to outshoot you again." Just because I don't think it could have been any more dead center at his heart, but like we got to a certain point, we knew he ain't going to be much further. He only ran about 60 yards in total, but I mean, we had big, big, big piles of blood like everywhere. Like I said, it was sprayed up on trees on both sides.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'd like to cover that a little bit.
Hmm.
It's your show, but I'd like to cover
No,
like
go ahead, buddy.
heart shots a little bit too. Like when we get to like later on,
Hmm.
when I get like back to Kentucky for gun season, because I've got a weird story about that too. Um, I so I shot that buck or whatever. I don't know how I could have tried to miss that in the show, but I shot that buck, and then I kind of just I need all we really eat, like as far as like red meat at my house, is venison. So like I'm trying to kill a bunch of deer.
So you're trying to pack that freezer full.
Yeah. So Kentucky, I killed that buck I think 2 days before gun season came in Indiana and Kentucky, because they come in on the same weekend and day. But I went to Kentucky and ended up shooting quite a few does over there. But I shot one doe over there at 15 yards with a 30-06
Damn.
in the heart, and she ran probably 100 to 120 yards after I shot her in the heart with hardly no blood.
I've seen. I'm trying to think exactly what deer that was. It was Ryan's the big 153-inch 8 pointer he shot last year. Funny you say that. It was with the 30-06. Um, he was for sure. He said, "Dude, I smoked him. He did a mule kick. I watched him run. He looked like somebody tried to light a fire up underneath his ass. He's hauling ass." And I never found. We found, like you said, specks of blood here and there, and then it's funny you say that also. Near a levee, he went to on the downward side towards the river, and I stayed up on top, and we started walking. And I just happened to look over, and there, on the other side of the levee was standing corn. It hadn't even been cut yet,
Huh.
and uh, he took out like fucking two rows when the deer ran through there. You could just see where he ran through it, and there he was laying there, maybe 80 to 90 yards from where he initially made the shot. No blood, no blood whatsoever. I mean, when we finally got him flipped over, he had a lot of blood there on the ground, but it was just wild that shooting him with a 30-06, a high-powered rifle, and there's not much blood to be found is pretty wild.
Yeah, it's you would think of all places to shoot one, if you shoot it in the heart, you would think it would pump out a lot. But it was the weirdest thing. I shot that deer at 15 yards, and I actually saw a deer do something I'd never seen before. She jumped all four legs like straight up, like somebody just picked her up with a string off the ground when I shot her, and
That's awesome.
I immediately thought I either gut shot her or I spooked her, and I
Hmm.
just totally missed. But I got down and I found like some frothy, like it looked like frothy, like lung blood. Like
Hmm.
it looked like somebody put blood and like kind of foamed it up and
Like a
like
latte.
foam on top of your latte or something. But only where I shot her, and it was like I started walking to like where she went, and I was like, my God, like how do I miss it 15 yards with a 30-06? But yeah, heart shots apparently are weird.
I love it with the bow. That's probably the second or third time I really noticed it, like pulling the when you gut it and everything, noticing that I had hit the heart. Sometimes I'm just in a mood when you shoot a doe or something and you start just pulling it out of there. You're not examining, lungs and livers and stuff and to see where you exactly hit it. You know that it's dead, so you're not really too worried about it. But that's the second time I can really remember. Man, I center punched this heart. It's a good feeling to have for sure.
I think sometimes you get a lot more blood with an arrow in the heart too because of the way that it tears. I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
you're ripping everything as you go through there when that projectile off your bullet, it's ripping stuff through there too, but maybe not as much as those broadheads do.
Yeah, I had a rough I had a rough start to my season, but like I said, I when I landed that permission and everything, my whole season just kind of turned around. When I went to Kentucky, let's see, did I shoot one doe there first? I
You
actually
shot like
don't think
two
I
in
had,
one day, didn't you?
yeah, I think I actually hadn't killed any deer in Kentucky yet. Trying to think. No, I don't think I had killed any deer in Kentucky, and I had went in there a couple weeks prior and hung a new set, and I was going in there. I was actually off work that week, and I was walking to my stand at like 1:30 in the afternoon, and I came. It was about a mile and a half back, so it was a pretty far walk, and I came up over this ridge. I got to the top of like this hill, and I started to go down, and I had this weird feeling that I might see some deer back there because where I was hunting at was closer to the highway, not super close, like where it was like dangerous to hunt or anything, but it was
Right.
like it was where nobody was going to go. The only access you could get to it really was walk really far or come from the highway, which you're not allowed to do. So I just kind of had this weird feeling that there was going to be some deer like back there. And when I came over down top of that ridge, I spooked like four or five does. And so I had a pack on with all my harness and everything in. Like that pack looked like I was out elk hunting, big enough to
Right.
carry everything. So I immediately just like laid back, kind of like rest on my pack. I had my pack resting against the side of that hill, and I was like, I'm just gonna like I got time. I'm off work. Like I ain't no rush. I'm just gonna sit here for 5 minutes. And sure enough, those does came back, and I shot one Yeah, it was the first one I'd shot because I borrowed that 30-06 from somebody at work, and he had actually sighted it in and everything. He's like, "It's good to go." So I'm like, "Yeah, I trust him."
Hmm.
So I'm like, "Man, I never really like shot this gun, but like, here we go. I'm about to shoot this doe." Well, I shot her, and she ran like one step and dropped. So I was like, "This is good." Like my season's like starting to kind of turn around. Like I'm happy as hell, like to shoot a doe because I'm not like everybody else. Like I like bucks, but I like to shoot does because I like to have meat in my freezer. But
Absolutely.
I was like, I'll wait 30 minutes. So I waited 30 minutes, even though she was dead. And I was like, man, I'm going to film something. I might use it for YouTube or TikTok or like, I don't know. I didn't even know about Go Wild at this point, but like, I'm going to put it on there too. So um, I'm like, I'm going to just like pull up my camera on my phone and record me walking up to this deer. So I'm like walking up to this deer, crunch, crunch. It was probably, I don't know, 50, 60 yards or whatever. And I get like 30 yards away and there's a hill across from me that's pretty tall. But then I'm like eye level with like where it kind of like flattens out.
Hmm.
And I look over and I see a doe's head in her chest and I can see like pretty much like down to like her knees. And I don't know if you've seen the video, I think, but I dropped my phone, and all you see on my phone is the leaves, and
Yeah, that was the best. It was on TikTok is where I saw it. You know, you hear, and then you just stop, and the phone drops, boom. It was awesome.
yeah, I ended up shooting that other doe too, and she ended up falling too. But it was pretty cool to get that on camera. I kind of wish I had the whole like, wish I had somebody behind me, but
Right.
whatever, it's the way it goes. But yeah, I ended up shooting those two does, and then I shot that one more down there, and then I went back to Indiana for gun season, and we did a little doe patrol over there too.
Oh,
So I ended up
absolutely.
making out pretty good. I ended up shooting 6 deer and 1 buck. Um,
That's how my seasons have been. You know, for the past few years, I've been able to harvest deer and give them to people because I got enough meat to take care of us. But this year, man, it's been rough. I mean, I've been behind the camera most of the time, but I still have 2 doe tags left, and I would love to fill those 2 doe tags. But we're having troubles just seeing deer. It's been one of the weirdest deer seasons I've ever had, man.
I actually still have a buck tag in Kentucky. I was gonna fill it. I was.
Is it still gun season there? Let's go. I'll film you.
It's over. It's over. I know,
You don't
but
have like a late muzzleloader or anything?
um, it might be muzzleloader there right now. I don't actually have a muzzleloader.
Oh, I mean, I can bring that too.
Oh, do you have one?
I have a couple of them actually.
um, Yeah, I saw a buck tag there. I was gonna fill it. I was like, man, I'm kind of holding out for one of those big bucks, but I had the chance to shoot like a small basket rack. Actually, when I shot that doe in the heart that day, I got down to her. She ran all the way down this thing, but I got down to her, and there was a buck chasing a doe like right up the ridge from where I was at, and I put the 30-06 on him, a little basket rack, and I clicked the safety off and I went to pull the trigger and I still had like 4 or 5, 6 days like of gun season left, I think. So I at the last second, like
Decided not to
I just
shoot.
wasn't ready, I think, and now I have nothing wrong with shooting small bucks. Like it's your tag, do what you want to do. Like
Right.
unless it's somebody's property where they're like trying to super manage stuff, but here like
Right.
people are just killing stuff and whatever. So I kind of wish I'd have shot him, but I didn't. So I don't
That's
know.
all
I
right.
got a
That
late
that
season
that
tag.
karma might turn around for you, and you might, shoot a monster on that same property or something next year.
Yeah, I totally see the thing about this property is you got to have a pass. So I'm not allowed to bring like unless
That
it's your like
sucks.
kids or anything. You're not allowed to bring a
Right.
get like even my wife has to have a her own pass. So it's yeah, I know. I wish I could get you down here to muzzleloader hunt because we could probably line that out this weekend.
Yeah,
If
because I got 2 doe tags I would love to get rid of, and then the neighbor obviously he's still chasing a buck, and I think he's kind of down in the dumps about it and just almost giving up on it. And I'm thinking about switching to waterfowl. I haven't made my mind up yet. Usually, December, man. Don't get me wrong. The last week here has been a little chilly, but normally at this time of the year, it's been cold for a minute, and we
Yeah.
just haven't had that real cold weather that I want to switch to the waterfowl yet. And I don't know, man. It's been a weird season for me. I hope it really turns out different than that next year, just because of the filming thing, and I have so much fun doing that and everything. But
How far do you guys live from Hoosier National Forest?
I would say an hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours ish.
Yeah, that's about what I'm about an hour and a half, I think, because it's broke up in 5 counties. I was gonna say you guys should go mobile up in Hoosier National Forest and go on some. There's some nice deer killed up there every year,
Yeah,
but
oh
I don't
yeah,
know.
definitely.
I don't know how much you guys are willing to travel or whatever, but I know
Oh,
you
for
and I were
sure.
talking about you maybe getting a trailer next year. Maybe you could try that out. I don't know.
Yeah, actually, not too. It won't. I don't think it'd be too far for you, but we've been in talks. Me, Ryan, and Spencer trying to do a deer camp down by like Patoka Lake.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Ryan has some private land. A buddy of ours has some private land, and then you have all that public land down there. We thought about doing a deer camp down there during bow season.
Yeah, Patoka Lake's not very far from me.
Yeah, that'd be cool. You could always meet up with us there because we have a place to stay. We just have to like kind of tent camp or whatever. But
Yeah,
that's not a huge obstacle in late November. It's not that cold yet.
I'd uh, I'd love to break off and maybe just be the camera guy and the eyes for somebody.
Oh yeah,
I get to film myself. I didn't do it as much this year, but I get to film myself a lot. I think it'd really be fun to like kind of sit back and just play the camera guy for once.
it's fun, man. I really enjoy it, man. I really do. So for this deer season, what's the biggest thing you've learned this season?
Biggest thing I've learned. Biggest thing I've learned, and that I would recommend to anybody having any trouble, is you got to move around. If you put a stand up and I know there's a lot of guys in Kentucky that bait. I've talked to probably a dozen guys this year. They're baiting. They're like, I'm hunting every day. I'm hunting every evening, every morning. Like, I can't shoot a deer to save my life. I'm sitting same spots. Like, if you sit a bait pile over and over, you sit the same set over and over, and you're not seeing deer, you can't kill a deer. You cannot be committed to that spot. You have to move.
Has to be
I think
mobile.
I think a lot of guys get, which I'm guilty of it. I was guilty of it bad last year. Um, you get in the mindset if you sit here long enough, he's like gonna show up. But you kind of like just like figuring out that you got to go after those deer because their patterns, you know, probably not as much in the summertime, but during deer season, like they're changing every couple weeks. They're
Oh,
moving on food
absolutely.
sources, then they're transitioning it onto like moving towards does or cutting the crops. Everything's moving, and you have to move with it. If you're hunting them like you watch them all summer, August, and everything, and you hunt them like that in October and November, how they were showing up in August, you're not going to be on those bucks. So,
Right.
be mobile, I guess, would be my biggest thing, and you gotta keep grinding. Like I said, I hunted what like 50 some odd days trying to kill those bucks, and I just couldn't seem to make it happen. And then new property shows up, get permission, 2 days, kill a pretty decent buck. Like you can't quit because it could
No,
turn
you
around
can't
any
quit. You got
second.
you got to learn to move when needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what
Yeah.
about goals for next season for 2022?
22. I sent out some permission letters late this season. I sent out I think over 50 letters. Didn't get any really replies about these are for permissions about come hunt my land. I did get one response from a guy actually emailed me a couple days ago saying he might um, let me go on a hunt with him on his property if he's with me. But 2022, I'm trying to find probably some private permissions to hunt because I think
Hmm.
it'll take a lot of, like I said, I eat a lot of deer meat. That's all we really eat, like as far as red meat for the most part. So like I think some private land might take the pressure off of me. If I could just maybe go there and shoot some deer and like get it out of my system, get my freezer full, and then I could maybe either a hunt a specific buck or something on some private, or do the public game like kind of like used to now.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I'd like to get some more private permissions. It's super hard though, so I don't know how that's going to go.
Do you have any travel plans for next season for anything?
So travel plans, I probably will hunt Kentucky again. I don't really count that as traveling because
Right.
it's not that far from my house, but I may end up traveling further into Kentucky.
Hmm.
I was planning on, if I was hoping to shoot one of those bucks in Kentucky like the first or second day of gun season. And then I was going to go to Ohio this year, but that didn't work out. So I thought about trying out Ohio. I know you talked a little bit about it on my show, about Ohio. So now I'm not really sure. Heard a lot about the pressure over there in Ohio, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'd like to hunt another state. I think I kind of want to hunt um something different, like a different kind of terrain.
I'll leave it open to this because I want you to listen to it, which I know you're already going to listen to it.
Okay.
Listen to episode 11 with Jason Burcham
Okay.
on how they looked up these private or public lands, what they did, their research basically into these public properties, and it will blow your mind. Stuff that I never even thought about that they put in the process of looking up these properties. And it will really change your mind on looking up some of these properties and how I looked up Ohio and stuff. And I did it totally wrong compared to how these guys have done it. And they researched Kentucky before they went there. And I didn't even know it was a thing. Did you know that there's public land in Kentucky that is bow only?
I think I did know that.
I did
Yeah.
not know that until that episode, but that's I mean that's cool. You know that maybe not got as much pressure because of a lot of people just gun hunt, but
Hmm.
Kentucky also graphs it out for you, telling you how many deer were killed in each county and stuff like that. You can kind of figure out where a lot of these numbers of all these deer are people killing.
Yeah. No hate on Indiana DNR, but Kentucky Fish and Wildlife does a lot better at giving out information as far as
A lot
the
of
stuff like
places
that.
do, yeah, or a lot of states do. I think Indiana needs to kind of wake up and come to the century that we're in now, technology wise.
Hmm.
Because most of these states you go to, you buy and do all your stuff in a state app. Indiana DNR has an app, but it's not that great of an app.
Yeah,
But
it's
you
just the
can't like,
guide.
yeah, it's just a guide that you can look up on your computer, basically in a PDF. But these other states, that's where you hold your license and how you tag the deer. And I mean, I think they need to step up that game.
I don't know if you've been seeing any of my tweets or any of my stuff I've been putting out, but I've been talking a little bit about like NFTs. I don't know if you're familiar with
I don't.
those.
I've asked you about that a couple times, but kind of explain what you got going on with that.
So NFTs are they're non-fungible tokens. They're basically like they can be they can be valued at whatever the person who like creates the NFT. So imagine like I take a picture, let's say Indiana DNR creates the 2022 light deer license, and they
Hmm.
create an NFT for it, which is basically just like a picture, but it may actually have something attached to it, like a QR code or something.
Hmm.
So you would like buy your license, and you would be given the 2022 deer license NFT, and it would be stored in like your wallet on your phone,
I
and
got you.
then you would save that in your wallet. And like if the game warden comes up, he's like, "Where's your license?" You would show him the NFT. It's basically like a digital license. But the cool thing about it is you could collect them every year.
That is
So
cool.
it's a lot like duck stamps or
That's what I was
anything
getting
like
ready to say.
somebody collects.
Because when you get a federal duck stamp, you have to legally sign it.
Hmm.
You put the stamp on your license and you sign it. The first ever federal duck stamp, if you could find that duck stamp unsigned, it's worth like something. I mean, in the millions
Oh my
because everybody
gosh!
signed them. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah, the original duck stamp. If you can find that, so when it comes to that, a lot of people collect them.
Hmm.
They when they go to buy their federal duck stamp to duck hunt, they buy two of them, and then they have kind of like a booklet, which I've never gotten into. I probably should because I'm into that kind of thing. But the way you explain that has been a better explanation or better than I've read into it before. I like the idea, but you said that you made some for Hunt the Wild podcast, right?
Yeah, I did. I took some different photos. They're mostly like trail cam photos, and I played with them, manipulated them, made them cool, whatever. And then I
Mm,
created, so you can basically, anybody can mint an NFT. Say you wanted to make some for Blue River bow hunting, or Bob down the street could make some just to make them. But
right.
you basically make them, and then you go to an NFT website with, you have a little cryptocurrency in your wallet, and you pay a little bit to mint it, and then you can set, like you can just like sell it like how it is, or you can like, you could, some people like could do something like, if you buy, like, if I'm famous or something, like I'm a nobody now, but like I
Right.
could be like, if you buy this NFT for $500, like you get to keep the NFT obviously forever, but um you get a hunt with me. Like you come to my house and I'll feed you and everything, and like you get a hunt with me. But like people could do it for, like, they could make an NFT for their house, and it could be like their house and everything. But I created some, I made a set, um, and I wanted to tell a story for each picture, and I made it mostly of deer. And I told a story, kind of like I told a story about one buck, about how he's super elusive. You can never find him. I called him like the I think it blood moon buck. But each picture has like a story with it, and I just kind of like created like a collectible set because um, I don't know. I think collecting stuff is really cool, but I'm not real like big into like the clutter thing,
Right.
like being around my house. So I thought it was kind of cool just to, like, I don't know, collect stuff like that. So it's kind of a newer thing. I don't really know. I just been kind of dabbling in it, but it'd
No,
be
that's
cool
cool,
to
man.
like,
I might have to do something like that. I think it's kind of cool. I wouldn't mind making one myself just to have it and say that I did it.
yeah, I've heard people talk about like someday your NFTs will all be like visible to like your friends. So it would be like something, I don't know if you're very familiar with like video games or anything, but like if you play like a video game and you win like a you get like a certain badge or something,
Yeah, I
like
know what you're talking
all your
about.
friends can see it. So
Right.
like maybe someday NFTs will be like where you can look at my NFTs and be like, man, he's got an NFT from, like, I don't know,
Or
the
maybe just like have
juries.
NFTs for like all the trophy bucks that you killed.
Yeah, so you could just be like, dude, look at this NFT, and you'd be like, man, he's got an NFT from the juries. He like, I don't know. It's just,
No, that's cool, man, for sure.
yeah. So I've been dabbling in that a little bit, but
That's cool.
yeah.
Well, I definitely appreciate you, coming on, and I've been on yours twice, and now finally got you episode on mine, and I'm sure we'll have you back on at some point and talking about something. But uh, tell everybody where they can find you at on social media.
So I'm on Facebook. Should be under Hunt the Wild. I started that way before I did the podcast. That's kind of what I originally started as when I was doing blog posts and stuff. Instagram would be underscore Hunt the Wild underscore. Somebody stole Hunt the Wild. I don't know why, but they did. So there's a couple underscores in there. I'm on TikTok as well under Hunt the Wild podcast. Twitter should be Hunt the Wild, I believe. And I am recently on Go Wild under Hunt the Wild podcast, which is a pretty cool app. It's an app for um, hunters, and they don't censor anything. It's something I recently found out about. Something recently Brett got on.
I think the people act a lot nicer on that thing than
Hmm.
Facebook and all that kind of stuff. Like I've any interaction that we've had with anybody on there, it's always been a positive thing. Like you know, I discovered you on your podcast and checked it out. I really liked. I ended up sending a guy on there some stickers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he said I really like your logo. I said just for you saying that, I'm going to send you some stickers.
That's badass. Yeah, it's a cool thing to be on. I think if you talk hunting there, if anyone there is looking at it, they want to know about hunting stuff. So it's not like you put it on Facebook and I don't know, your uncle scrolls past it and his wife is a vegan and they don't want to see it or whatever. Anybody
Right.
that's on that app wants to see hunting
And
stuff.
the
So
more you interact on the app, the higher your score goes, and you earn stuff like stickers and T-shirts, and percentages off of like Vortex optics and stuff like that. I actually already have the stickers and the shirt on their way at some point.
yeah, it's a really cool thing. I'm on LinkedIn as well under just my name, Adam Bold. So I don't know if anybody uses LinkedIn, but you can connect with me there because I'll be posting hunting content there until they ban me again.
Well, that's awesome, man. I appreciate you coming on the show and everything, and I'm sure we'll get you on back on again at some point. But thanks everybody for listening and watching. Go check Blue River Bow Hunting out on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Go Wild. Any social media app that there is, we have a profile for it pretty much, and appreciate you guys' support. Thanks.
We'll see ya.